morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video, and it's time to do a deep dive into the Mage class when it comes to the Midnight Alpha. Some of its specializations are considered to be the most controversial, causing major outcries amongst the Mage community, and other specializations just look downright awesome with a lot of cool new abilities as well as returning abilities. So we're going to be covering all of it so that you can stay in the know and the now with everything related to the next expansion, because Blizzard is taking some serious risks with this one, and it's looking like it's going to be a massive overhaul, a completely new experience. And honestly, I think we were due for it. I haven't felt this way about an expansion since probably back in Legion. And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. And I'm not going to clickbait you guys too hard. We're going to start with the most controversial specialization of the three for the Mage class, and that is the Fire Mage, to which I have recently on The War Within kind of fallen in love with, and am also a bit concerned with the direction for it right now in the Midnight Alpha. And you can see that I just don't really have a lot of abilities. That is the main thing here. The core rotation, if we look at our action bar, we don't have Phoenix Flames anymore. So we basically have Fire Blast, Pyroblast, and Fireball. Those are our, that's it. So we can do Fire Blast, Fire Blast, Pyroblast, Fire Blast, Pyroblast, and then we're going to Fireball. That's pretty much our only option. We're going to Fireball because we don't have no buttons left. But it means that we're actually going to have to cast. And I'm sure everyone is freaking out already because that means you're going to have to be a lot more stationary, whether that's in PvE or PvP. But do note that they are completely changing the mechanics of PvE, so hopefully it's not going to be an infinite spam of swirlies on the ground that you're moving out of constantly. They're going to be able to challenge you in other ways with the fact that they're going to be blocking access to add-ons. So being stationary might not be the end of the world there. And in PvP, they are also pruning a lot of defensive abilities and pruning a lot of mobility, so hopefully, and crowd control and changing DRs. So being stationary for a few moments hopefully isn't going to be the cataclysmic end for the world, because honestly, when I'm playing this, while it may seem, a little bit overly simplified, it's also kind of nice. It's just nice for a change to not just be super concerned with like spamming just like the whole time with a bunch of instant casts. It's honestly kind of chill, which I do enjoy. We still have very fun windows of time, like during our combustion with our Phoenix blasting out damage. I'm still playing the Sun Fury build as of right now, and the hyperthermia window still feels really good when you're able to spam just infinite instant pyroblast. So you still get a little bit of the twitchy instant gameplay. It's just not basically the entire time. You're going to have some moments where you are going to need to cast damage. Now, I've seen a lot of Fire Mages. I was talking to Vinruki about it, and they really would like one more ability added. I think the best suggestion so far has been Living Bomb. Not like a Living Bomb with no cooldown, but like a Living Bomb with a significant cooldown that maybe spreads and explodes, and bringing back some sort of rot and kind of wildfire type of damage for Fire Mage. I think that would be very enjoyable. On top of what's just currently on its kit for its damage rotation. But you can see that they are not afraid to simplify. Absolutely not afraid to simplify. They've completely stripped away so much from Mage. And even more so when we look at the class talent tree, which you'll notice has been completely reworked. They've removed displacement. So you can't blink and then go back in time. The trade-off for that is that you're getting spatial manipulation, which is just 2 charges of blink. And you can run blink out of stun with 2 charges. And you could still play Alter Time to reset the cooldown of it with it up here. So you can get a lot of blinks and get out of a lot of stuns. So that is likely going to be the trade-off, obviously, for losing all of the instant casts that you had previously. They've also removed a lot of damage mitigation. Mirror Images doesn't reduce damage taken anymore. Greater Invisibility does not reduce damage taken anymore. So a lot of damage reduction cooldowns are removed. This is in tandem with basically all the other classes losing a lot of defensives. This is like the mass disarmament. They're just stripping away all the cooldowns, stripping away all of the mobility, getting back to the core of the game. And this will be great for like a new player experience. It'll be great for somebody returning to the game who hasn't played in a long time, I think, and gives them the opportunity to sort of slowly build up again with an entirely fresh set of eyes and fresh set of experience. And for the people who might be getting a little bit older, it's going to be a nice transition away from all the spammy weak aura tracking that needed to go on. And you've got all these different defensive cooldowns, and now they don't. Now they're just kind of cheeky. Mirror Images is basically to, make clones of yourself for fun that shoot frostbolts and snare the target. Invisibility is more about going invisible and being sneaky, as opposed to thinking of it as this giant shield wall ability to reduce damage. So it fits more with its fantasy. Obviously, it's a big power loss, but hopefully, again, with their goal of bringing the game into a more slower attrition-based style, it won't be the end of the world. It won't be the end of the world. You also don't have Mass Barrier. They're giving you Mass Invisibility back instead, but Mass Barrier was putting basically Blazing Barrier or whatever barrier you were as spec on all of your allies. So significant a lot of healing. Significant a lot of healing. What kind of English is that? A significant amount of healing. And damage reduction lost displacement. They're bringing in this new talent. It's probably for new players. Temporal realignment. Basically, when you drop below 25%, your past self corrects your timeline and casts alter time and instantly returns you to 50% health. So it's like a cheat death effect. And I've noticed that they've added a lot of these. There's one for Fury Warrior, and as I look onto more specs, I'll try and keep track of this trend. This is obviously aimed at new players, so that if they're going into a raid encounter, they're going to have a safety net to be able to save them. If they don't see something and stand in the fire too long, they get an extra safety net, because I would assume this is going to be pretty good in those situations. But at the same time, my criticism is also that if they're moving away from one-shots, then why would they need a cheat death, right? Usually it's a cheat death is because of something that just completely KOs you. If they're trying to move away from that, is this really going to see any play? Now, I think for the highest level of play, you're still going to want resets to cooldown at Blink or Shimmer, because it just gives you the most amount of kind of outplay value available. But it's a big deal, right? Mage is taking a significant hit when it comes to defense, when it comes to survivability. So you're got to be a lot more stationary than you previously were as Fire. The rotation has been slimmed down significantly, but I feel like this is necessary, and this is the alpha. They're likely going to iterate on this and move forward onto it. I definitely think this is one of the specializations that needs a lot more attention on it, just to make sure that it's able to hit right. Because for me, I loved Mage in the War Within. The War Within, Mage was like my #1 recommended class as far as being the most fun. And I think this holds the potential for it, but it also holds great risk and danger of completely falling off in that regard. But that's where Fire is sitting right now, so you can see why it's the most controversial. Let's jump into Frost, because Frost is getting some interesting changes as well, and I think a few Mage's favorite buddy is actually making a return, which is the first thing I wanted to talk about, which is the Water Elemental. So they've pruned Icy Veins, that's not in the game anymore, but they've brought back Summon Water Elemental, and it's a permanent pet. It has a 15-second cooldown. And you're able to summon it. It has all the abilities that it used to have, the old school abilities. You can shatter combo off of its Frost Nova, which is really cool. Yeah, so our little Welly's back. He's chill. You don't have to. The main drawback of him before was that he could get killed and then you were left without him. But it's a 15-second cooldown, so it's not too bad as far as being able to get him back into the fight, and it's a reasonably short cast time. You can see that Frost Mage's rotation is not nearly as pruned, but it is slightly different. You see my Glacial Spike icon is lit up right now, and that was previously Frostbolt, and that's because when you hit 5 icicles, Frostbolt just turns into Glacial Spike. The cool part about that is that it gains the benefit of Frostfire Empowerment and actually becomes instant cast whenever you have it, which I thought was, I don't know if that's going to get nerfed or not. Like if I've got to get kind of lucky here to get a proc hopefully on it, but when you get to 5 stacks, you can have an instant Glacial. So I thought that was kind of cool. And also your Blizzard will turn into Comet Storm. So they've been able to trim down 2 extra keybinds basically by putting those into those. And the downside is that Frostfire Bolt is a pretty fast cast. Honestly, not that fast relative to Glacial Spike. I don't really notice it. That was the trade-off that I was a bit concerned about, was like once you get up to Glacial, like is it really hard to actually cast it? But it's not too bad. It's about the same. It's honestly faster. The Glacial Spike is faster. Now, previously, Frostmage had a lot of rotational play like this, where you would go like Flurry, Ice Lance, and then you would get rid of your 2 stacks. Instead, now you have this thing that's at 14, and it's called Freezing, and it just builds up from a bunch of your abilities. It builds up from Flurry, it builds up from Frostfire Bolt, builds up from Ray of Frost, and then you can consume these charges with Ice Lance. So you can pretty much Ice Lance anytime that there are charges, but it looks like it does the most significant amount of damage when it has 4 charges that it can consume. So you're going to be building up those stacks on the target and then blasting down those stacks. My criticism for this is that this is literally the wound mechanic from Unholy DK that they said was bad and they're removing, and now it's on Frostmage. So I'm noticing some like inconsistencies as far as gameplay design, where this was deemed to be a bad mechanic where it stacks up on a target, but now Frostmage can get the bad mechanic. Maybe it's less punishing as a Frostmage because you're all ranged, but again, DK had Clawing Shadows. Regardless, there's some weirdness going on there in that regard, but their main goal with Mage is to make their consistent damage more relevant, which this is likely going to. They've reduced a significant amount of cooldowns because another ability I forgot to mention is that Blast Wave is gone. I'm very sad about that one, honestly. Like, if any ability comes back, I'd really like Blast Wave. Knockbacks are just really fun, and they've honestly taken knockbacks away from pretty much everybody. I think it's literally going back to like classic levels of knockbacks where it's like only Shaman and Druid maybe, and then Drakthir, of course. But like a lot of the other classes have just completely lost their knockbacks. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they'll design raid encounters that focus around knockback, so you have to bring in a knockback class, and you don't just have it on every class. Maybe that's an intentional design choice, but for me, I feel like I'm losing a lot of really cool, fun spells. But rotationally, Frostmage looks solid. I actually like the rotation. Welly is cool for guys that like the Welly, and you're going to permanently have it out, have an extra Frost Nova, for all the trade-off of losing mobility. You'll have an extra Frost Nova, and this Frost Nova compensates for the fact that they finally deleted Frostbite. I'm so happy. The old Frostbite, I should say. It still exists here in this iteration, but you're not going to get randomly rooted anymore. Frostbite is gone. Thank God it is gone. There are no more random proccing roots. You are just going to only get, controlled roots from the Frost Mage, which is a little bit downside, obviously, for the Frost Mage, but I think it's for the greater benefit of the game. The greater benefit of the game that Frostbite it's finally removed from its previous iteration. But overall, I think Frost Mage looks really solid. It's gonna be a fun spec. And we're going to have to kind of wait and see when we get further on in testing, because they're still kind of low level. This is just looking at like the core baseline of the spec. We haven't been able to do any real significant PvP testing to see how the tuning feels with the item level squish, the stat squish. But I think Frost looks cool. It looks fun. And everything's in line with what they're trying to do with other specializations. Now, Arcane is getting a lot of new stuff. It's probably the most fun when it comes to new stuff. And in the War Within, I was saying that Arcane is the most fun spec, and I probably still say that for the entire expansion. I thought it was the most fun, but it was obviously complicated. It was obviously very complicated. So I think their goal with it is to try and simplify it. One of the coolest new spells that you're going to be getting is the Arcane. Where is it? Arcane Pulse. I can't find it on my talent tree. It's up here. Arcane Pulse. It replaces Arcane Explosion, and it's a casted spell that has a sick animation. I'll just show it to you right here. It's basically like an Arcane Blast, but it AoEs, and it's got this circle of arcane energy that expands as you get more charges. So it feels really satisfying when you start to get to max stacks and you're just crushing down big AoE. So I can imagine Mythic Plus, the spell is going to shine a lot. It's going to be super fun. You still have Arcane Surge, you still have Arcane Orb, you still have all your procs. I'm playing the Arcane Orb build, so when you get a clear casting proc, your Arcane Orb shoots out gajillion Arcane Orbs. So you still have like that Arcane Orb spam gameplay that Arcane had previously. Still have the move casting also available to you. Just kind of depends what direction you want to go. We still have Touch of the Magi, even though it's a new icon here. So rotationally, I'd say that Arcane and Frost still feel good. They still feel like they've got the core rotation without being like too overly bloated. A lot of the procs that you had to interact with weak auras are gone on Arcane, so it's a little bit more straightforward. Which honestly, Arcane was like one of the most complicated specs in the game. So I feel like that was kind of necessary to bring it in line a little bit out of all of the specs. Some specs I think got completely gutted though, and we'll get to those classes and those specs in a future video. But for me, Arcane, super fun, stoked about the new stuff that it's got. Frost looks cool and awesome as well, and they've removed a lot of the gameplay that makes Mage super frustrating in PvP situations, while also making it less kind of like twitchy and fast reaction requiring for PvE. So to me, it seems like it's a win-win overall. Now it's just a matter of getting the tuning down. So it's competitive in PvE, but also competitive in PvP. But overall, I think there's some cool changes here, some big risks that they are taking, and I'm hoping that they can deliver on it, because it could likely be the third era of World of Warcraft. And Legion was a phenomenal expansion. They took a lot of risks with that, with a lot of ability pruning at the time, but it got a lot of new players into the game, and it had a very strong lifeblood to it. So I do hope that they will be able to achieve that for Midnight as well. And I'll just keep updating you guys as we move along, as we see what happens. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to thumbs up, comment down below as well with your thoughts about Mage. Are you terrified? Does this just completely freak you out and you're very concerned? Or has this got you excited for simplification of the game, stripping back all of the cooldowns and trading mechanics and add-on requirements, and you're actually happy about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.